I turned from the spa reception desk, and there he was. A man in his 30s, hotel uniform, name tag reading Marcus. He pressed something into my palm. "Read this in your room," he whispered. "Don't let anyone see you." My fingers closed around the folded paper. Before I could speak, he was gone, disappearing through a staff-only door. I stood there, clutching my room keycard in one hand and this mysterious note in the other, my heart suddenly racing. This was supposed to be a relaxing weekend. After 6 months of grief, paperwork, and business decisions following Richard's death, my daughter Claire had insisted I needed a break. "Mom, you're exhausted," she'd said. "The Grandview Resort is perfect. 3 days of spa treatments, good food, and no stress. Tom and I will handle everything at the company." Tom, my late husband's business partner of 20 years, the man Richard had trusted like a brother. I should have felt grateful. Instead, standing in that elegant lobby with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake, I felt uneasy. And now this note. I waited until I was alone in my suite before unfolding the paper. The handwriting was rushed, almost frantic. "Mrs. Henderson, I used to work for your husband's company. I quit 3 weeks before he died because I couldn't be part of what they were planning. They're going to make their move this weekend while you're here. Check your signature on ANY documents. Trust no one from the office, especially not Tom. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. The guilt has been eating me alive. Please be careful." My hands shook. I read it again and again. Richard had died in a car accident. The police said he'd fallen asleep at the wheel on his way home from a late business meeting with Tom. Tom had been the one to call me that night, his voice breaking with sorrow. Tom had helped me through everything. Tom was Claire's godfather, had bounced her on his knee when she was a baby. This had to be some kind of cruel joke. But something about the desperation in those words made me pull out my phone. I scrolled to Claire's number, then paused. The note said, "Trust no one from the office." Claire had been working at Henderson and Associates for 5 years, ever since she got her MBA. She was Richard's pride and joy, being groomed to eventually take over. I set the phone down and went to the window. The lake stretched out below, peaceful and blue. Sailboats dotted the surface. It looked like a postcard. It looked safe. But I couldn't shake the feeling of ice in my stomach. A knock at the door made me jump. I shoved the note under a cushion and checked the peephole. "Tom." "Margaret." His smile was warm as I opened the door. "I thought that was you in the lobby. What are the odds?" He pulled me into a hug. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "What are you doing here?" I tried to keep my voice normal, but it came out tight. "Client meeting in the area." "I'm staying overnight." He studied my face. "You look tired. Are you getting enough rest?" "That's why I'm here." I didn't invite him in. I should probably lie down, actually. The drive was longer than I expected. Of course. He patted my shoulder. "But listen, before I forget, I brought some papers that need your signature. Nothing urgent, just routine corporate stuff. The accountant's been nagging me. I can drop them by later?" Every muscle in my body tensed. "What kind of papers?" "Oh, you know. Annual filings, tax documents, board resolutions, standard things Richard used to handle." His smile didn't waver. "I'll bring them by around 7. We can order room service, catch up properly. I actually have a spa appointment at 7. 8 then?" "Tom, I came here to rest. Can't this wait until I'm back in the office?" Something flickered across his face. Annoyance? Frustration? It was gone so quickly I almost thought I'd imagined it. Sure. No pressure. I just thought while we're both here." He shrugged. "Enjoy your spa day, Margaret. You deserve it." I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. The afternoon passed in a haze of paranoia. I went to my scheduled massage but couldn't relax. I kept thinking about Richard, about the night he died. He'd been working late so often those last few months, always with Tom. They were finalizing some big deal, he'd said. A merger that would double the company's value. A merger I'd signed off on 3 weeks after his funeral, barely able to read through my tears as Tom guided my hand to the signature line. Oh God. That evening I skipped dinner. I couldn't eat. Instead, I pulled up the company's digital files on my laptop. Richard had given me access to everything years ago, but I'd never used it. Why would I? I trusted him. I trusted Tom. I started reading. By midnight, I'd found the first discrepancy. A transfer of funds that didn't match the records Tom had shown me. Small, but there. I kept digging. By 2 a.m., I'd found 6 more. By dawn, I knew. The merger hadn't doubled the company's value. It had transferred 60% of Richard's shares to Tom, shares that should have passed to me upon Richard's death. But according to these documents, Richard had signed them over 3 days before the accident, except I'd watched Richard sign important documents 100 times over 35 years of marriage. I knew his signature, like I knew his face. These weren't his. I sat back, numb with shock. Tom had forged my husband's signature. Tom had stolen our company. And Tom had probably done worse. Had Richard known? Is that why he died? A knock at the door jolted me back to reality. I glanced at the clock. 8 a.m. I'd been up all night. Housekeeping. I opened the door a crack. A young woman with a cleaning cart smiled at me. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought checkout was today. I'll come back. Wait. I looked at her name tag. Maria, do you know Marcus? Worked here until recently? Her face went carefully blank. I don't know anyone named Marcus. Please, it's important. He gave me a note yesterday. I need to talk to him. She glanced down the hallway, then whispered quickly. He doesn't work here anymore. Hasn't for 3 months. I don't know where he is. She started to push her cart away. Wait, why did he leave? She paused, her back to me. Someone paid him to quit. A lot of money. But Marcus, he's got a conscience, you know? He couldn't live with himself. Then she was gone, cart rattling down the corridor. I showered and dressed on autopilot. My phone kept buzzing. Claire, Tom, the office. I ignored them all. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. The kind that would hold up in court. At 9 a.m., I called my personal attorney, Diane Richards, not the company lawyer. My lawyer. A woman Richard had never trusted because she was too aggressive. Diane, it's Margaret Henderson. I need you to do something for me, and I need you to do it immediately. By noon, Diane had filed for an emergency audit of Henderson and Associates. By 1 p.m., she'd gotten a court order freezing all company accounts pending investigation of fraud. By 2 p.m., Tom was banging on my hotel room door. Margaret, open this door. What the hell is going on? I opened it, keeping the chain latched. I could ask you the same thing. His face was red, furious. You froze the accounts. Do you have any idea what you've done? We have payroll due, payments to contractors. Did you forge my husband's signature? He stopped mid-sentence. What? The merger documents. The share transfer. Did you forge Richard's signature? Margaret, you're not thinking clearly. You're grieving, you're confused. I've been looking at the company files all night, Tom. I've compared signatures. I've traced fund transfers. I've spoken to my attorney. My voice was steady now, cold. Did you kill my husband? The color drained from his face. That's insane. Richard was my best friend. Richard was worth more dead than alive to you. With those forged documents, you got the company. All you had to do was wait a respectful amount of time before pushing me out completely. I leaned closer to the gap in the door. What was the plan for this weekend, Tom? More papers for me to sign? Papers that would finish the job? You're being paranoid. Am I? Then you won't mind explaining the signatures to the police, or the fund transfers, or why Marcus quit 3 weeks before Richard died. His expression changed, Hardened. Who? The employee you paid off. He has a conscience, Tom, unlike you. Tom's hand shot out, trying to push the door open. The chain held. Listen to me, you stupid woman. You're going to undo this. Call your lawyer, unfreeze the accounts, and sign the documents I brought. Or you'll regret it. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You think you can go up against me? I've been running that company for 5 years while Richard drank himself stupid every night. Everything he built, that was me. You're just the grieving widow. Sign the papers, Margaret. No. His face twisted. I own this hotel. I know people. You're going to have an accident just like Richard. A slip in the shower. A fall down the stairs. Tragic. The poor woman, still devastated over her husband's death, not paying attention. This conversation is being recorded, I said clearly, and my attorney is listening live. Hello, Diane. From my phone on the dresser behind me, Diane's voice rang out. Hello, Tom. I've got 3 officers on their way to your location right now. Tom's eyes went wild. He threw his weight against the door. The chain strained but held. You bitch. You're dead. Do you hear me? Dead. Hotel security is also en route, Diane added calmly. I'd advise you to step away from the door. He kicked it once more. Then I heard him run. My legs gave out. I slid down the wall, shaking. 10 minutes later, hotel security found Tom trying to leave through a service exit. The police arrived shortly after. In his hotel room, they found the papers he'd wanted me to sign. They would have transferred my remaining shares to a holding company he controlled. They would have given him power of attorney over my assets. They would have made me a pauper in my own life. They also found something else. In his rental car, tucked in the glove compartment, a mechanic's report on Richard's vehicle, dated 1 week before his death. Brake lines compromised, steering linkage tampered with. Tom had kept it, as insurance, maybe, as proof of his own cleverness. Either way, it was evidence. Later that afternoon, Claire arrived. My daughter ran into my hotel room and wrapped her arms around me, sobbing. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. I know, sweetheart. I know. He said you were confused, that the grief was making you paranoid. He said we needed to help you, protect you from yourself. He had me convinced that she pulled back, her face stricken. I almost helped him. I almost gave him the codes to Dad's personal accounts. He said you'd asked for them, but forgotten your access. I smoothed her hair the way I had when she was small, but you didn't, because something felt wrong. The way he pushed, how urgent he was. It didn't feel like help. It felt like... She couldn't finish. I know. We sat together in silence for a long moment. Then Claire said, Marcus called me, the guy who gave you the note. He said he was Dad's assistant for 3 years. He said Dad knew something was wrong. That's why he was staying late, trying to find proof. And then the accident happened, and Marcus got scared. Tom paid him to disappear. But he came back. He saw your reservation in the hotel system. Saw Tom had booked a room for the same weekend. He couldn't let it happen again. Claire's voice broke. He loved Dad. He said Dad was the only decent person in that office. Where is he now? Protective custody. Diane got him a deal. His testimony for immunity. Marcus. A kid I'd never met, who'd saved my life because his conscience wouldn't let him stay silent. I'd have to thank him someday. The investigation took 3 months. They found everything. The forged documents, the embezzlement, the evidence of tampering with Richard's car. Tom had been meticulous in his planning, but arrogant in his record-keeping. He'd kept files on everything, probably to protect himself if anyone else tried to challenge him. It buried him. He pled guilty to second-degree murder, fraud, and attempted murder. His daughter, who'd been the company accountant, pled guilty to conspiracy and embezzlement. They both got 20 years. I got my husband's company back. All of it. Every share, every asset. I sold it 6 months later. I couldn't bear to walk into that building knowing what had happened there, knowing Richard had been betrayed by the man he'd trusted most, knowing I'd almost been destroyed the same way. Claire and I used the money to start something new, a nonprofit that helps widows navigate the legal and financial complexities after losing a spouse. We call it the Richard Henderson Foundation. We help them understand their rights. We help them protect themselves. We help them see the warning signs. I never went back to the Grandview Resort. I don't think I could step foot in that hotel again without remembering the fear, the shock, the sickening realization that someone I'd known for decades wanted me dead. But sometimes I think about Marcus, about the fact that one person's conscience, one person's courage to do the right thing, even after staying silent for too long, saved my life. I think about the note he pressed into my palm that day, about his hands shaking as he whispered those warnings, about the guilt that drove him to finally speak up. I keep that note in my desk drawer, not to remember the betrayal or the fear, but to remember that there are still good people in the world, people who will risk everything to save a stranger, people who prove that it's never too late to do the right thing. 3 years have passed now. The foundation is thriving. We've helped over 300 widows protect themselves and their assets. We've caught 12 cases of fraud or exploitation before they could succeed. We've saved lives, finances, futures. Claire runs the day-to-day operations. She's brilliant at it, and it's healing for both of us, a way to honor Richard's memory by protecting others. Last month, we hired a new program coordinator, a young man with a kind face and a guilty past. Marcus doesn't talk much about what happened. He doesn't need to. His work speaks for itself. He treats every case like it's personal, because for him it is. Yesterday, he came into my office holding a thank you card from a client, an elderly woman we'd helped escape a predatory conservatorship being pushed by her stepchildren. She'd written, "You saved my life. I didn't know who to trust. Now I do." Marcus set the card on my desk, his eyes bright with tears. "This is why we do it." "Yes," I said, "this is why." He started to leave, then paused. "Mrs. Henderson, I want you to know, I think about your husband every day. I should have spoken up sooner. If I had—" "You spoke up when it mattered most," I interrupted gently. "You saved me, Marcus. You gave me the chance to seek justice for Richard. That's not nothing." He nodded, not trusting himself to speak, and left. I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there were more Toms. More people who would exploit trust, forge signatures, destroy lives for money. But there were also more Marcuses. More people who would risk everything to do what's right. The key is knowing the difference, trusting your instincts, asking questions, demanding proof, and never, ever signing something without reading every single word. I learned that the hard way, but I learned. And now I spend my days making sure others don't have to learn the same lesson through tragedy. Richard would be proud of that. I hope he would anyway. I opened my laptop and started typing the speech I'd deliver next week at a conference for estate attorneys. The title, Warning Signs of Financial Elder Abuse. What every professional should know. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. "Mom, emergency. Client situation. Woman says her business partner is pressuring her to sign away her shares. Her husband died 6 months ago." Sound familiar? My heart sank, then hardened with resolve. I grabbed my jacket. On my way, I texted back. Some stories don't have happy endings, but they can have purposeful ones. They can become warnings, lessons, shields for others. That's what Richard's death became. Not a tragedy that destroyed me, but a catalyst that let me protect others. And Tom? He sits in prison, his empire dissolved, his reputation shattered, his freedom gone. Every day he spends behind bars is a day another widow keeps her home, her assets, her independence. That's justice. Not perfect, not painless, but real. And sometimes, that's enough. To anyone reading this, Listening to this, remember, if someone presses a note into your hand and whispers a warning, listen. If your instincts scream that something is wrong, investigate. If someone rushes you to sign papers, slow down. Ask questions. Demand time. Trust, but verify. Love, but protect yourself. Because the person who wants to hurt you won't look like a villain. They'll look like a friend, a partner, someone you've known for years. They'll look like Tom. Stay aware. Stay alert. Stay alive. And if you're ever in that hotel lobby and someone whispers a warning, don't ignore it. It might just save your life.